We are live on Facebook and being joined by an incredible community. I'm so excited to see everyone here today. I know some of you are not just joining us on Facebook, but you're joining Melanie Nelson and I today on a private Zoom webinar as well. So if you are here on Zoom with us, I want to make sure that you say hello. Go ahead and use your chat window to tell us hello. Say hello to everyone else that is joining us. And do not forget our friends on Facebook. You can do a shout out to Facebook. You can definitely encourage anyone that wants to participate tonight, especially if you're enjoying some of the information we are bringing to you tonight. Tell people just go ahead and jump right on Facebook and they can leave their comments, their emojis right there for all of us. I want to promise you tonight is going to be a fantastic night. I'm joined here with my fantastic friend, Melanie Nelson. Melanie Nelson as the director of TLS, our lifestyle system, and myself, Dr. D, the vice president of product development for Market America, and our global countries that are here joining us as well. Both Melanie and myself are overjoyed to be also bringing to you in the spirit of entrepreneurism, community, and support of our growth and support of your vision for the future, sharing with you our 53 weeks of support and topics to help us talk about your entrepreneurial spirit, growing your professional network. And that's why Melanie Nelson and I are here today, because growing your professional network in your sphere of influence is one of the more impactful things you'll do from a growth strategy, no matter what you're doing day to day. Melanie, how are you tonight?
I am fabulous. I'm getting better every day. Just, that's the goal. So super stoked to be here. You guys, I had to shout out to, I just saw so many names come through: Carl Hall and Carmen Ames. And I said, shout out to Carmen Ames. She's on the leaderboard this week. The first week leaderboard of unfranchised or on the unfranchised.com, you can see every single country has a leadership board, and have Colin Haskins and Trinity made it on, and Julie Lunceedle. And so I'm seeing some of the names on here that made the leaderboard. So I just want to give a huge shout out to those who started so strong, and all the everybody who's here, because we're just starting week 2 here. So we're just getting started with our 53 challenge. So we're pretty excited. Let me set my timer. Week 2. So I want to set you up for a success here, and I'm going to cover the first half of this content here tonight, and Dee's going to lead the second half, although we'll be, interacting together as we do it. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. So step 1 is, to any business, you open up any business on the planet, you need a database, right? And a database is everyone you know and know of. And so even if you've been in the business a really long time or a few years, we always want to be in the business of expanding database. Every business is always constantly doing that. And so, I have a traditional business background. And so, yes, we call it a name list, but my mind thinks database. That's what I'm thinking. I want to be successful. So the key of a database is that you're not to judge anyone. One of the big mistakes people make when they start an unfranchised business is they make a names list of about 3 to 13 people that they think are going to be great for the business, or that they know, maybe they'll say yes, or that kind of thing. That's not a database. A database is, again, I'm going to say, everyone you know and know of. So go ahead and grab a pen and paper. I hope you have one anyway, because there's always so many golden nuggets each week on these things, right? So this is an opportunity because we are going to expand your database by thinking of other people that you possibly have not put on. And you're going to see on the screen here, it says COI, building your databases in COI. And what I mean by that is circles of influence. So I want you to think of all the people you know as in like little tribes, circles in your life. So who are your friends right now? All right. And go ahead and just write a little title on your paper, friends. Right. And you know, you don't put Ross and Rachel and Joey, but you definitely are going to want to put the other people in your life that are your friends. And when you put family, I don't want you to just put family. I want you to put mom's side of the family, dad's side of the family. If you have a spouse, right? You know, in-laws, right? Mom-in-law's side of the family, dad's side of the family. You've got 4 circles. If you're married, you got 4 circles of influence. If you're a Brady Bunch, you might have multiple. So you have got many different circles of influences on the different side of your family. Now, you may or may not talk to these people about business, but they need to go in the database. Yeah. So neighbors, who are your neighbors right now? So I am just in a new neighborhood. I've already met Jason behind me. I've met Jordan and his wife across from me. So, you know, they're going in my database. But who are your past neighbors? So my past neighbors are John and Claire McCourt. And, you know, I have all kinds of people in that category. So on your list, right? Neighbors. Here's the thing, 21st century, you guys, I hope you're writing names while I'm talking, because that's the goal here. So in the 21st century, could you find and reconnect with someone you were in touch with a long time ago? Absolutely. That's why you need to have a high school column for those people, and a college and classmates and faculty. So I was one of those kids. I wasn't like super popular, but I was engaged, and I was on, you know, the student council and organizing committees. So I got to like walk into the teachers' lounge, be like first name basis with some of the teachers. Yeah, that was me. I was that kid. And so, you know, I was like, hey, Dave, when it was like Dave Knightham, my grade 8 teacher. Now, I know for a fact that if my goals depended on it, I could find Dave Knightham and I could give him a call. He would remember who I am. I know he would. I know that Grace Jewett, my grade 10 teacher, would remember who I am. Guess what? She's in the database, you guys, because I know that if my goals depended on it, I could get a hold of her. Are we in touch right now? No, but that's okay. I want you writing everybody down you know and love. If you have church communities, a church community, that should be one of the circles of influence. Professional contacts. Who am I talking about here? I'm talking about your Dr. D's, right? And your Dr. T's and your dentists and your chiropractor and your plumber and the guy named Luke who just made a custom cabinet for me. Okay. So like Luke is now in the database. Okay. How about organizations or associations? Okay. If you're a part of any of those, there's a circle of influence. Who's everybody you know? Who are your work colleagues? Who are your current work colleagues? Who are your past work colleagues? Again, anybody that comes to mind that you really connected with in a past career or job that you're like, man, I should reach out to them. I should find them on Facebook. I should reconnect. Write these people down. And then of course our social media accounts, right? I know Facebook used to have the ability to download your contact list. So that's always kind of a fun thing to do. But this is the key to having and finding those 200 names. And a big piece of that puzzle is posture. It's all about posture, right, Dee? Everything in life, I feel.
Yeah, no, I mean, and what I'm loving that I'm hearing is this kind of reframing of this from a names list, which just inherently we think of who would be good for the business. So this no judge, this no prejudge, but really a database. And I love the way you framed it with goals, right? Like if my goals depended on it, right? If it was that necessary, would that change my perspective of who I knew, who they knew, and of course, that circle of influence? Would we open up just a little bit more into our own circle of influence and understand the people that we come in contact with every day when we don't first measure them with, are you good for the business?
That's
I
right.
love it.
For sure. So to me, prospecting is simply meeting new people and making new friends. I am listening and I'm caring about what this person is saying without an agenda. Without an agenda, manipulate the conversation, bring up product, bring up business. I am literally in the business of adding names to my database. To me, prospecting has nothing to do with recruiting. At least that's not my intent when I'm meeting new friends. If it goes that way, fantastic, but that's not my goal. My goal is simply to connect. Because the truth is, you guys, is there's more people you don't know than you do know. Right? I mean, like, it's actually quite mind-boggling how many you don't know than to what you do know. So make a point. That's why it's on our basic 5 weekly checklist, the accountability checklist. How many new people did you add to your list? That's a 2-person a day, 5 days a week. That's been part of our system since this whole thing started. Why? Because people are everywhere, and it is our part-time gig to find them, meet them, connect with them. And when we do meet new people, whether we're online or we are, in person now, we're getting back to that, which is wonderful. One of the first questions I find that people ask, sometimes even before anything else, even your name sometimes, is, what do you do?
Yeah.
And a lot of times as a new one franchise owner, we are either don't know what to say, right? And so we say nothing. Or we're so excited that we're like, right? And it's just like everything comes out and it's weird. And you're like, man, just what was that? And so it's really important to have a working answer that is short, sweet, and intriguing. And I always say that if you have a current career, if you have a job, that you should start with that because it rolls off the tongue nice and easy, right? So I am a kindergarten teacher, but what I'm focused on is, and you could say, my internet-based business I just started, my online retail business at home, or it can be division specific, whether you're web centers or motives or TLS or Nutrimetrics. Any of those would work, but keep it short and sweet, right? Because if I was, talking with Dee, and Dee said, like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, Dee, I'm a truck driver. I got a special license. I get to see the world. I get to be in little towns and meet lots of people and see all of America. It's so cool. You should do it too. Like, that would be weird, right? Slightly. So I know we get excited about the business. So we don't want to do that. We want to be short and exciting, because if I said, hey, I'm an accountant, but what I'm really excited about is my online retail business at home, what does that automatically do to you, Dee, if we were in conversation?
Right. It automatically says, what is that? What else are we doing? I want to hear more about that. That sounds interesting. Now, I do want to say something about your truck driver story, because it does resonate, right, with people when you are excited about what you do. And that's something that you heard, even though the idea, the exercise there was like, right? The idea is that you did get a sense that she gets to see the world, and that's an exciting thing for her to do, which makes Melanie, as a truck driver, a very interesting person, right? But we want to open up the conversation. We want to leave the conversation open enough that someone can say, tell me more, right? I want to know more about that.
Yeah, because that's normal conversation rules. As soon as you go, well, what's your online business, or what do you sell, or any question that comes after that, and usually there's a question. Now you have permission to talk about it, and that's normal conversation rules. And so we want to earn that permission to talk about it. So when somebody asks any version of what is that, then you practice a short and intriguing answer to what that meeting new people. And this is true if you're on online chat on Facebook Messenger, or if you're in person, is keep it with those conversational rules. Don't send them a big dissertation before they've even asked for one, right? And so We are a product brokerage, internet and affiliate marketing company that provides customers with a better way to shop and owners like myself a system to create a willable income. Or it's a way to connect everyday household spending into earning through technology and the power of people. Or again, your division specific answer. But again, short and intriguing enough for them to say, again, I want to know more, right? If they don't know more, then that's okay. The conversation should move on. You should ask another question and you should listen, because that's 100% what prospecting is about: asking questions and listening. It's actually not about you talking so much. And that's why I'm very adamant about having these short but pointed or curiosity creating questions. So again, with your why, somebody might be like, oh, why did you start this business? Hey, you're a teacher. Why would you start this business? Well, I want to free up my time to spend with my kids. And so I need to create an additional income. And it's just that simple, you guys. And of course, you're saying it with feeling and your heart, but don't pour into this big lifelong story. You want to hear theirs, right? So grab the most important aspects of your why that a lot of people would relate to. And that's your, 30-second, why, and 2-minute commercials are later, right? They're for like when you're sitting down on the plane and that person has nowhere to go and you got their undivided attention. Okay. So chances are,
I wanted to say something about that, because, you talk about it just is natural and it speaks from the heart, and you should be speaking from the heart. That's something that's so important about our 53 challenge is, really reading our goal statement on a daily basis. But more so than that, thinking about like that part of it that really is the heart of why you started your business, why you did what you did. And there's a side benefit to that. It's not just the words that you're speaking to yourself. It's not just the atmosphere that you are creating. Let's be honest, we are our own circle of influence, right? So it's not just the atmosphere that you're creating for you in reading that goal statement, but it is also that side benefit of creating an incredibly natural, uninhibited answer when someone says, tell me more. And I think it's so powerful for us to think about, I get it, sometimes I'm pragmatic, but the pragmatic side of your goal statement is also the ease of conversing about the reason you do what you do, and people hearing the sincerity and authenticity in why you do it.
Absolutely. So chances are, if you're really having a great conversation, somebody might start asking a lot more questions about the business. And, there are the big owls out there. They're going to grab the napkin and write out the plan. They're going to arrange the Coronas and show the plan. I know that some people do that, but I gotta say, I am more on the side of the David White thinking of leave them wanting more. And I always like to do that. And it's like, great, you're asking amazing questions. I really cannot explain it all right now. It's such a visual concept, Dee. It's actually about a 30 to 45 minute appointment. Now, it may or may not be for you, but I know at the very least you'd be helping me out. And I bet you could introduce me to some people I could help. So do you have a business card? Are you on Facebook? How can we connect? Right. So that's the goal here with new people, is really just grab the connection. Even if it doesn't go business or product and you just had a fantastic conversation, ask for their card. Don't give them yours. You should always be out. Because what happens to the card when you give it away, right? I mean, we don't know what happens to it. Do you ever hear from them? I never did. So it's always magically out of business cards, and I ask for theirs. And 100% of the time, I'm going to follow up with that person, or I'm going to say, hey, are you on Facebook? And I'll connect with them, because it's easy within 24 hours to then send them a Facebook message or send them a text and say, oh my goodness, it was so nice to meet you. I really enjoyed our conversation. And within 24 hours to have that follow-up so they remember who you are and build a relationship from there. So as a professional, right? I always say practice makes professional. Some of you are new to the unfranchise, and you're not, and you haven't practiced this really. So this is one of those things where in your job, you probably had to practice a bunch of different things before you got good at them. Some people had to practice for years before they ever get it in real life kind of thing. So taking this as seriously as anything else that could create is what do you do? What is it and why? And knowing those answers to it. I would love for those of you online who are a little more veteran to chat in your what do you do, your what is it, your why, chat it in so people can see it, because I think we can all learn from each other. You might find things, and I just want to say to all the perfectionists out there, version 1 is better than version none. So have a version, practice it in the mirror, say it to your dogs or your teddy bears or your husband or your spouse or whatever, so that you can start having it roll off the tongue and see how it feels. And I promise you'll change it up from there. Because I don't know about you, but I've practiced on some projects and really messed it up. So I actually decided that I would practice, and mainly I'm going to tell you this because many people don't believe me, but I am naturally an introvert. I know, Dee, can you believe it? And so I had to build that muscle of being social and doing these things to start conversations, which Dee is going to cover here in a little bit, is Facebook or conversation starters. So let's talk about social media here real quick while you guys are typing in. So Carmen has one in. I help business owners increase their revenue and decrease their expenses. Ooh, I love that. I love that. I own a health and nutrition franchise. All right, Jeffrey. So thank you guys for writing in. Keep them coming. All right. So prospecting on social media. Here's the thing about social media is if you're not totally committed to one, just pick one and master it. Just, don't try to be on everything. Don't try to be great at Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and all of them, right? Pick one, really master it. And I really, truly feel like Facebook really God's gift to our business because it really minimizes the time to build rapport. I just joined a different gym in January, and they have a Facebook group. And of course I went on it, and now I'm like connected to all of these people who are in my 7:30 class, and I absolutely love it. And it's really shortening the time to create those relationships that normally take a lot of time in person. And when do you feel comfortable asking a stranger to go out for coffee, right? And right. So there's a lot of benefit to Facebook with these interest groups, with building your names list. Facebook does this amazing thing. It often shows up in your feed and it says people you may know. I mean, come on, it doesn't get easier than that. You could be like, add friend. I mean, if you can't click add friend or like click the friend request, if you can't do that, I don't know. I don't think that this business is for you. So, and I say that with all the love in my heart, you guys, because truly Facebook has made it that easy. And then you just go ahead and send a message. Hey, I saw we had some mutual friends in, or, hey, I saw that you do this. And I've actually done that with some of the people in the Facebook group for my new gym. This is something I've done. I've actually kind of scrolled through the members, and I found one who was a health professional, and I friended her and said, hey, where do you practice? And, so I'm just, you guys, it's actually so simple and easy. And in order for you to put yourself out there, one of the things, if you don't already post 5 days a week, that should be goal number 1. Goal number 1 is just post 5 days a week. So you get your beautiful mug in front of your network. If they don't see you, they're not thinking about you, and you want them to think about you. So if you post daily, and I'm not talking about business, I'm talking personally, post personally. Yep. And once you've done that and you've established the habit, because here's the thing, you must establish a habit before you can improve upon it. Let me say that again. You must establish a habit before you can improve upon it. So don't just start selling stuff on social media without first building the habit of posting at least 5 days a week on whatever platform you're on. Once you've got that habit down, you don't even think about it. And now you're like really inserting things that have to do with your business. And my rule of thumb, typically on a normal, like your page, your gram, your whatever, is 20% business and 80% personal. And that way, people are getting to know you. You're building rapport, you're building relationship, you're attracting people, right? I am attracting people right now because I'm being a total goofball on Instagram. I am showing a side of me that I've been able to like show through Instagram reels, and I am getting all these new followers, and now I'm like in conversation with a couple of them. I am just showing people who I am. That's it, you guys. And that's all about just adding names to your list, adding names to your list, this is your part-time gig, you guys. Let me hear you adding names to your database.
List. Or your database. Oh, I messed it up.
I messed it up. So there you go. Obviously for us introverts, we need a little help with conversation starters, Dee.
Well, see, that's one of the things that I love about what you framed for us here today, tonight, Melanie, is that it starts with a hello, right? It starts with normal conversation. It starts with your normal interest, right? So the first thing I want to grab from what Melanie talked about with social media is that being your authentic self is critically important to finding not just new partners, but finding the partners that you want to work with, right? When you're sharing things through social media, you'll be surprised, and this is why I just want to grab from what Melanie said, you'll be surprised at the number of people that will select you, right? To bring up I love your vibe, I love what you're doing, right? They end up doing exactly what Melanie's talking about that we want to do, which is saying, I hear that we're friends. I like what you've got going on. This sounds like really fun. I want to know more about you, right? The other thing that Melanie talked about that's really powerful for us to pay attention to is that people don't ask, what's your name, right? To start a conversation. They ask, what do you do, right? What's interesting to you? And so one of the things that's so important with conversations is doing the listening, right? Being excited about what someone is saying to you, because what happens is you're naturally going to be engaged with them to a point that when you say, what is it that you do? Tell me what you love about that, right? What is it that you love about your job, going to work, the hours? It could be something, if you're struggling with that, it can be something about like a compliment, like, that you love someone's hair, right? That you love the way that they're wearing it, those sorts of things. But what I find is most impactful is nothing is more natural than the hello, because nothing comes more naturally to the person you're speaking to than saying hello back to you, right? When you're then able to say to them, what is it that you do? What brings you here? That sort of thing. They're automatically going to talk about themselves. And what I want you guys to think about doing is in that engagement to say, if they seem excited, right, is to say, it sounds like what you're talking about is that you're one of those people that says, I get to do this, right? I don't have to do this. And then you get to say, that's what I love about my day, right? And again, I want you to take a note from Melanie. She mentioned, don't start talking about yourself. Keep it short, keep it exciting, keep it topical and concise, right? So that's what I love what I get to do too. I work with all kinds of people, right? Most of them are smiling and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, definitely. I find as an introvert, saying hello is just the thing that, like, a 3, 2, 1, turn to somebody, smile and say hello. like literally that's like my pep talk to myself. It's usually really easy to make that sincere compliment. If there's something, don't make it up though. Okay. That just doesn't come across right at all. And so always easy to spot whether they're married or not, right? And so it's an easy thing to say, oh, you're married, do you have kids, right? It's just the simplest thing. And then you're off to the races. And introverts, you don't have to do anything else. You just have to listen, and usually people are off to the races. Isn't it, Dr. D, the extroverts that like usually need to rein it in a little bit with our business?
Well, I mean, personally, I mean, what we've done today is we've paired an introvert and an extrovert together, right? So I'm naturally excited. I talk with my hands. There's a lot of words that are coming out of my mouth. And I think it's important, Melanie, as we think about conversation starters, as we think about keeping this natural, is that we also think about where our strengths lie. I love what you said, Melanie, about, and I think everyone else can appreciate this. If there's something we have a hard time doing, then we need to stretch that muscle a little bit, right? We need to work out that muscle. And that's exactly what extroverts need to do. They need to work on the listening muscle so that they can keep their answers short and sweet, but do exactly what we were talking about, leaving them open enough so that someone says, that's interesting, I want to know more about that. But you also learn to say, that's interesting, and I want to know more about that, right?
True, so true.
I would say that, Melanie and everyone, most people find the business networking easier than the coffee shop networking. Why? Because they're thinking about it as a business tool, right? Not a social tool. So the first thing I want us to think about is getting real good at the social aspect that allows us to open up a discussion about our business. We have to know what we are in business for, of course, to do this. That's why I love to say I work with all kinds of people. Most of the time they're smiling, and I absolutely love it. Because what it opens up for the person that I'm talking to is that the point isn't that I'm looking to sell something to someone. What I'm looking to do, and this is what I love what Melanie said about prospecting and recruiting, right? Is that she's not prospecting to recruit, she's prospecting to build a healthy relationship. She's prospecting to learn more about that individual and their circle of influence, right? Their sphere of influence. Ultimately, what are we talking about? Their referral network. So one of the ways that you can be successful in creating this database is to think about places where other business-minded people go. Now we have to know, and this is why we read our goal statement each day, is why we ask ourselves at the heart of it, what is it that had us start our business? What were we looking to do? What was it that we were looking to create? Because when you're in these referral networks, whether you are going to identify a BNI group that you can be affiliated with, some of the things that Melanie talked about, some of the other social networks that you're naturally in socially may be able to refer you to a BNI. When we start to converse with people, we may find out maybe they work around the area, and we find out if they're in any business networking groups. This is where social media is super powerful, because you may be in a mom group, you may be in a business entrepreneur group, you may be in a health and wellness group, you may be in a natural skincare and well-being group, right? These are places that you can now look for offshoots of some more referral networks. That's those are some of those meetup groups. Now, Melanie had mentioned a church community. Being a part of your neighborhood, this is such a powerful thing to do. When you are someone that's a helping hand in the neighborhood, when you are creating kind of wellness or well-being for your neighbors around you, you're naturally creating a relationship. You're naturally developing a sense of trust with those individuals. And now what that has done for you, because people like people that they want to be like, right? People like people that other people like. You've created a sense of agency around you where you're going to ultimately be more successful in a BNI group, some local chamber of commerce groups. There's being able to be an authority, a subject matter expert for yourself in something like a gym or a fitness center, being able to say, this is what I do, right? One of the things that I like to tell people, is that, I'm working within an industry that has found success for thousands of professionals. I stop, I pause, and I say, just like you, right? I don't have to define which type of professional I'm talking about because we have multiple industries. We have multiple services that we offer individuals. And so I'm able to say that I've helped people find success. I work within a system that has helped thousands of professionals beat just like you. We've been doing it for over 30 years, right? For me, it identified I identified that I needed to be able to offer my patients more time, more care. To do that, I needed more than just short-term income, right? I needed to create. That's one of the reasons why I like to have the power of referrals, the power of business networks. One of the most natural things you do in business is to ask for the referral, right? To tell people about your services, what makes you unique, and then ultimately learn more about them. One of my favorite things I learned through business networking in the Chamber of Commerce is to let people know I want to know more about your business. I have my own business. I'd love to know more about the services that you offer. What makes you unique? And what does your ideal customer or client look like? Because when I can identify your ideal customer, I'll know who to refer to. If I could just have a couple of minutes, I'll tell you a little bit about my most ideal customer, right? Some of the unique services that I offer, some of the unique, whether it's services or products, a program that I work with. And that way, when you meet my ideal customer, you may want to refer them to me, right? So I want to establish I'm a subject matter expert. Sorry, Melanie, I was talking over you.
No, I just think this is perfect because what this does is these are another area of circle of influence essentially that you can find yourself in. And this is why I love leading with a division, because if you are a TLS weight loss coach, you can go into a BNI group as that. If you are a web center sales consultant, you can go into a BNI group like that. You can market yourself as that in a local chamber of commerce. If you're a motives beauty advisor, if you are, Nutrimetrics consultant, right? This is why I love leading with the division, because you can go into these chambers or these BNI groups or these, gyms or fitness centers or wellness centers or really anywhere to create these like business to business relationships and really expand your quality of network, because your network is your net worth and your net worth is your network. So if you go in with the heart of providing value, education, bringing positivity, and marketing yourself, you are going to open massive circles of influence for yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's super important, again, that we hear about how we frame this, right? Because that's ultimately what you're doing is you're building a relationship. You are creating agency or authority around what you do. And we have to pick a major, an interest, a product, right? Someone's success story, maybe our own success story, to be able to do that successfully. Your job with building the relationship is to keep in touch, right? And so that's one of the things that Melanie had mentioned. Make sure that when you get someone's information, right, that you're following up, right? Maybe, like she said, you're out of your own business card. So it's as simple as saying, how can we connect? I mean, everybody just say that right now. How can we connect? Right?
How can we connect?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And with excitement, a smile, right? What they're hearing from you isn't how you doing, right? What they're not hearing from you, is I want to sell you something. That smile is genuine. And what they're hearing from you is I'm enjoying this conversation. How can we connect? Melanie, I love the business card thing because I have an electric business card, or a digital, I guess they call it, business card. And my whole point there is it allows me to put something in my phone. I have a digital business card. You don't do that? Okay, it's super easy. Let's go ahead and show you how you do that. Normally I'm showing them a new tool, but just like Melanie was saying, they're giving me permission to do something like that. And it allows me to follow up just like this, to build that relationship, keep in touch. I have their information here. It's this neat tech thing that they didn't know anything about. If they did know about it, then great. We tap phones and I've got that information. And I'm also speaking their language. But now we can think about different ways to use that information, to stay in touch, to create a discussion about them. So often, this isn't just about how can we connect, but I love this one. This made me think of you, right? I was out today and something made me think of you, right?
Oh my God.
Do you? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I do. No, that you just totally hit it on the head. That's one of my favorite ways to keep in touch with people is I will be like, I'll send them something. It might be a meme. It might be a funny meme. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, this made me think of you. Right. And that is such a fabulous, fun way. And I always think the goal should be get invited to the barbecue, right? Like that's your goal. Okay. You want to be fun and be that person who people want to not, you don't need to be the life of the party. I'm like, again, introvert over here. I'm just saying your goal should be that you get invited to the barbecue. I mean, we had a set of neighbors, Dee, that in our last neighborhood that had this little miniature pinscher that normally didn't like anybody or any other dogs, but liked me and Bella. And, and we would run into each other almost daily in our walks and got invited to the Halloween party, right? Like that's the goal, you guys. The goal is to get invited to the party, whatever it is, the barbecue, the thing, and that just comes from, building relationship. And oftentimes it means that you're not going again for the jugular, right? That this is your part-time job, is building relationship and finding areas in your life where you can find people. Because, in traditional business, Dee, one of the things that, I've always done is I go, who's my ideal client, right? Just like you talked about, is who's my ideal client? Where are they? And number 3 is, how do I communicate with them? And so that's what I want you guys thinking about always. Who's my ideal partner? Who's my ideal client? Where are they? And how can I communicate with them? Yeah. And then get to work, because you don't want to be one of those unfranchised owners that goes, I don't know anyone, or I've run out of names. And I say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just say that, in jest, but I know we've all been there, especially, gosh, I've been in this business for 17 years. There's been some times where I'm like, I think I'm literally out of people. Like, so what do I go do? I just dive deep into building and expanding my network.
And that's what I want to say about this building relationships, is that you're not building business associations on the surface, right? You're building relationships. Like Melanie said, you're going to get invited to the party. You take your dog out for a walk. You see the same person over and over again. Stop and have a conversation. Allow your social life, right? Allow your normal social interactions to create healthy business interactions. Because as we often say, you don't know who that person knows, right? It's about their sphere of influence, their circle of influence, not just your circle of influence. Or like Melanie says, I've run out of names. I don't know anyone else, right? So that's what we want. And I love that you brought up obstacles.
Ooh, thank you.
Because that's a very real part of our business, right? Handling common fears, overcoming obstacles. Like, what will people think of me? What if I can't handle it? And that could come everything from fear of success, fear of the follow-up, right? Fear of doing it right. And what order do I need to do this in, right? One of the biggest fears I hear from people is I don't know enough. And that's one of the best parts of being a part of a larger networked community, is that there is someone. One of my favorite lines, Melanie, and I don't know if you ever used this, is I got a guy, right? So you
Oh, yeah.
always have some help there when it comes to supporting your growth, right? The first step is to get engaged. The first step is to, and I love, Melanie is one of our teachers in this, is to have fun doing what you're doing. And to do that, you have to be very authentic. I love that Melanie talks about being a goofball on Instagram. I'm going to share with you, is one of the reasons why I think people find people like Melanie, myself, you likable, right? Because you're willing to make fun of yourself a little bit. Every time I've ever been on a stage and I've said something goofy, I don't even know who that was. What was that? Right? Now they know it's okay to feel a little bit uncomfortable with me, right? To giggle, we're going to laugh at me together, and everything is fine. I think you'll find that people are far more accommodating, right? Generous with them, generous with you when we laugh at ourselves a little bit. But the first step to handling fears, overcoming obstacles, is to recognize that the best of the best are going to have them. That you, even on your worst day, right, you can still have a great day and make a real connection with someone. When we know what to expect, that obstacles are going to come up, bumps in the road are going to come up. Sometimes you climb Mount Everest, right? Sometimes you don't make it to the top. Sometimes the bear gets you. That's just the way it is. And when we can accept that, right? We find it's a whole lot easier to be forgiving of ourselves, ask for help with other people. Some of my favorite ways to overcome some of these obstacles aren't just the fear in business, but the fear of being right, the fear of recommending a good product, the fear of giving the right answer. So one of my favorite ways to do this is simply, let's see how you respond, right? Or I'm really excited to hear more about what you think, right? If we're talking about business, even if you think you've messed something up, end it with, I'm super excited to hear more about what you think. Now they get to talk and they have permission to do it. And we're not focusing on what you thought you did wrong or what you thought you did right, because we're simply in a conversation with people.
So true. I truly know that no one who succeeded in really anything did it without overcoming fear. It doesn't mean you wait till the fear goes away. It means that you act in spite of it. It means that you push through it and you do it anyway. Everyone who's been successful has had to overcome challenges, obstacles, fears. Some mountains you don't know. You don't know the mountains that Dee climbed to get where she is today, or that I did. You didn't get to necessarily see that, but know that everyone who's in a position that you look up to and say, wow, I want to get there. I want to be successful, has handled these fears by just simply stepping through them. And we all have our strengths, right? And we all have our weaknesses. And I know as an introvert, prospecting was definitely one of my natural weaknesses that now I would say is actually one of my strengths. Why? Because I handled this fear and I built this muscle over and over and over again. Do you know how many times I made a fool of myself? Where people literally did one of those in the plane where they were like, stop talking to me. Right? Because sometimes when you're introvert, you're a little socially awkward and a little weird. And so it happens, right? And so I'm saying, you guys, that I decided that my goals were more important than my personality. And so just know that whatever you come across that you're afraid of, and it might be nothing around prospecting. Maybe you're an extrovert and a social butterfly and you're like, man, I got this. I'm always meeting new people, right? You're like the Big Owls and the Elizabeth Webbers of the world. Fantastic. But there's going to be something else in this business. It's going to press that little button for you.
Yeah. And, we often hear people say, fake it till you make it. And I'm a much bigger fan of what we were just talking about, which is finding courage, right? Courage is the only time in your life that you can't fake it until you make it, because you have to step forward and through. So the most courageous thing you'll ever do, the most incredible thing you'll ever do is to step into that fear, right? And create something. And that's why I like coming back full circle to something that you'd said, Melanie, which is, if it was about your goals, if it was about having, reaching that pinnacle, whatever you've put out there, would you let creating this database get in your way? Would you let not having the words in perfect order, right, get in your way? Not if it was about your goals and actually reaching them. And that's why the goal statement is so important. That's why the why is so important.
Couldn't agree more.
And that comes to the next step, right? What is the next step? Taking that goal, right? Identifying your, I love it. We've talked about this circle of influence. We've talked about our network. We've talked about the power of our network, our strengths and our weaknesses. It now is the time to think about where's my support. It's kind of what you had just said, Melanie. How am I going to connect with them, right? I know who my ideal client is, right? I know where they live, or I know where they are, social media, the networking groups, the neighborhood groups, right? How am I actually going to connect with them? What are some ways that I can identify the wow factor in my business, and ultimately what I offer in this business? I often find that we can let the business speak for itself. The tools and the resources speak for themselves. So our next step is to engage with people. And that's why I always like coming back to this made me think of you. I was thinking of you today. If I have their digital card, if I have their digits, if I have their contact information, I now have the opportunity through social media, the memes, right? I often say that academics, the way they say I love you is by sharing like a PubMed article. That's how academics say I love you, right? Well, this unfranchised marketing app is so powerful to be able to say, I wanted to take the time and reach out. Something made me think of you. So as we think about not transitioning individuals from our social network into a business network, into a customer network, but again, thinking about what's organic. And the unfranchised marketing app can be one of those solutions for this made me think of you, right? This is allowing me in business to follow up with you successfully. If you have found any of that, like I love, Melanie, you talked about we all have strengths and weaknesses. If follow-up is one of your weaknesses, you need to power the absolute leverage, the power of the unfranchised marketing app to remind you when to follow up, how to stay connected, because it itself sends out a drip marketing campaign that keeps a customer or a business prospect engaged with you. And the thing, I think one of my favorite parts of the unfranchised marketing app, Melanie, is the fact that whether it's a customer or it's a business prospect, what I'm showing them is how easy it is to engage with my resources. A business associate now sees how easy it is to interact, and they say, well, I could do that. Right? I didn't have to, like, talk about overcoming fears. I didn't have to know the content. I didn't have to know how something works. I didn't have to know what makes this product special, right? I can share media and content. So one of the things that we're doing is showing individuals in our database how easy it is, because they're either going to be right for our business, they're going to be right as a new client, a new customer, right? So we often talk about this being somewhat of a sorting business, but everybody wins. If you haven't already shared a sample, that's part of your homework before week 3, right? When we get to come into our next topic, is that you're going to share a sample with someone. We're going to run through our diagnostic test, our B5 diagnostic test, our 53 daily paperwork, and we're going to read our goal statement. We're going to share information about the business or something new that we've learned. And one of the more powerful ways that you can do this is by sharing the sample experience. You're going to show people how easy it is to share information or engage with the information through your website. You're going to become a powerhouse at following up, and you're going to be able to check some of these things off the list that say, I just got started, right? Let's step into our own power and take a step towards creating that database that Melanie talked about, or that new consumer base that can be, again, their own amazing circle of influence.
For sure. I hope that, Dee and I gave you some how-tos. I hope you expanded your idea of your database, added some names. I hope that you thought of some areas in your community, small businesses in your community that you can go reach out to, that you can go walk through their doors, introduce yourself to the owner. I hope that your idea of who you can talk to has expanded significantly tonight, so that you can continue to establish a large database that's going to allow you to build this business for years to come. Because this is truly, again, network is your net worth, and net worth is your network. What's, obviously next in regards to, like Dee was mentioning, is, what do we do with these people after we've built relationship? Well, we can either create a customer by sending a sample, or we can show the business plan, which is all about week 3, which is coming up. And Cullen Haskins and Dawn Martin will be presenting that one. So 2, wonderful trainers and speakers and passionate men with big hearts. So you guys are in for a real treat. We're so glad you were here with Dr. D and I, and definitely don't miss next week, you guys. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this. And to go out and build that muscle, right? Whatever it is, I want you to start flexing that muscle and create the future you're looking for.